Welcome, welcome, welcome again to another episode of the Improvly Speaking podcast. I'm your host, Dana Gowan. I'm so excited that you're joining us today for a fabulous part 2 episode. We'll get into what that means in a second, but I'm just so excited to have Jesse Greenfield on again on the podcast almost a year later. And, it's just crazy what a year can do for your growth and your journey. And Jesse's had so much amazing developments this year, and I just can't wait to jump in and also debrief the conference that we just attended. Now, if you are new and joining us for the first time, welcome. Glad you're here. Let me give you a little rundown what this podcast is all about. Today on this podcast, our goals are to help you understand the benefits of improvisation and applied improvisation, to demonstrate how improv shows up in all aspects of our lives, and to inspire you to try new things, get out of your head and judgment zone, and find a creative outlet and passion that can help you. And it doesn't have to be improv, although if you are so inspired by this episode to try improv, we hope you try it. Now, our guest today is Jesse Greenfield, who they have already been on the podcast, but let me give you their background, their introduction again, because it has changed since the last time we've talked. Jesse Greenfield is a queer health communicator, storyteller, and improviser from San Diego, California. They have their MPH degree from Tufts University School of Medicine, and they are also a certified health education specialist. Jesse is now the founder. This is big news. This is new here. Jesse is now the founder, director of programming, and lead facilitator of Kaleidoscope Training Center. And their work is deeply informed by the power of experiential learning. I'm so excited to talk more about that. Jesse supports others in creating accessible and inclusive environments through compassion and active listening, approaching work and life from a yes and mindset, and demonstrating how responding compassionately and authentically is vital to effective teams, and also just life in general. Most recently, Jesse and I presented together again at the Art and Science of Health Promotion Conference. This year it was in Hilton Head, South Carolina. We're going to debrief and chat all about that. Let's jump in. Please welcome the super fun, super fantastic, super fearless lead facilitator, Jesse Greenfield.
Oh my goodness. What an illustrious introduction. Thank you, Dana. It's always such a treat to talk to you. And I'm so glad it's been a couple weeks of this bubbling thoughts and ideas and feelings about the conference. So I'm glad we're sitting down to talk about it.
I know it has been a few weeks, and we spent a whole week together. It was almost a whole week, like Saturday evening to Friday. And, I get to spend a whole week with you and then it's gone. And then I don't get to chat for a while. It's like I'm having conference withdrawals and Jesse withdrawals too.
Right? It's like this once a year, like other world that we get to be in together. That's like its own little universe. And then it goes away. And I'm like, what just happened? They send us to these beautiful places. I don't know. The conference life and this like travel life is wild.
It's pretty sweet. I'm not going to lie. The conference life, and it is its own little kind of like ecosystem. Like you get into it and you forget that not the real world exists, because we're doing work at the conference for impacts in the real world. But yeah, you kind of get in this little conference bubble and you meet all these new friends. I mean, I think we made so many connections this year, especially. And then you leave and you're like, wait, new friends, like we need to stay connected.
And they live all over the place. A conference as a meeting spot or a congregation spot is also, I feel like, an improviser's dream, or like someone who's curious about other people. For me, that type of environment feels so juicy. I'm like, you mean there's all these people there that I've never met before that I get to talk to and hear about their story and hear about their lives, and we come together in this unique, brief space and then scatter. I think there's something so magical about that that also lends itself to people having this mindset of being really open and curious. And I don't know, I think there's something about the temporariness of the space that makes it so special.
I love that perspective because I wanted to just go on forever, but you're right. It is something very special. And we're both pretty extroverted people. We,
Yes.
certainly we still need our space and our boundaries, but we're pretty extroverted. But I do think this conference in particular, most conferences do, they try to allow for everyone, extroverts, introverts, ambiverts, to connect with each other. And I'm biased, but I think our improv sessions do a good job of helping people connect as well.
I mean, that's what they're for. At its core, we can be teaching a number of specific skills, right? We can be talking about health equity. We can be talking about listening. I don't know. Anything that we talk about leads back to connection because that's at the heart of every improv scene. Every game that we play is really about like, how are you connecting and relating to this person, which also is like the heart of communication in general. So I feel like our sessions are really set up to help people. Like, I think it's a perfect thing when everyone doesn't really know each other. Maybe it's kind of awkward. They need to break the ice somehow. We all have something in common. We're at a conference with a shared interest, a shared field, but maybe just a little something that can break the ice or create some foundation of connection for people to then build on for the rest of their time there.
And just to give a background to our listeners, so Jesse and I were invited back. Our proposals were accepted again for the Art and Science of Health Promotion Conference. I mentioned it was held in Hilton Head, South Carolina. Last year, it was in Colorado Springs, Colorado. So that's what we're talking about, all these lovely places with these fancy hotels and resorts that help you to get in the conference bubble. And I want to encourage you to listen to part 1 episode, which was released in July 2023 last year. We recorded it in April last year. My production team is a little slow, aka me, is a little slower in getting the episodes out. And in episode 1, we talk about Jesse's improv journey and also how we met and how we connected back in, I think, 2021 and become fast friends. So really listen to that episode because it kind of gives you a really fun background of like why we're so silly and we collaborate so well together too. And then I'm really love doing part 2 episodes. I hear on a lot of podcasts like hosts will say, "Oh, I've got to have you back for a part 2 to see how you're doing." And I always wonder like, do they have them back on? And at least for me as a podcast host, I can say, yeah, I do have my guests back on. I had my friend Susan on as a part 2 episode talking about her journey in opening a brick and mortar business. Now I have Jesse on for a part 2 debrief. So I love part 2 episodes because we've already talked about the journey stuff. So let's get into what happened over the past year. And I love it. I'm so excited.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for inviting me back. I'm excited to talk more about this.
Well, and Jesse, we'll talk conference stuff in a minute, but you've had a big year. You have your own business now, Kaleidoscope Training Center. So tell us, how did that come about? And also, I've got to know why the name Kaleidoscope Training Center.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. It's a pretty emotional story as a heads up, and I'm happy to share it. Yeah, I was like working in local public health for a while, and that was great. I started doing that during the pandemic, and that made a lot of sense to me to be using my shiny new master's in public health to be doing that and supporting in that way. But I found myself feeling pretty stuck and frustrated with the pace of bureaucracy. And clearly things needed to change, but there seemed to be so many obstacles in the system that I was working in. Didn't seem to be helping people. And even I fully remember being in my public health school, my master's degree, and learning all this health communication, health promotion stuff, and was like, I don't know if this really works. It doesn't seem really connected. It seems pretty abstract and not grounded in anything. I don't know if that's going to work. And then I got to go do it And it turns out it was not for me. Feel like I needed something a bit more direct. I needed something a bit quicker. Also, something that felt really real, being able, like, I didn't want to turn myself off at the beginning of every day and then have to try to
Mm,
reboot at the end. I
mhm.
really value authenticity and understand that it is like the key to both feeling okay in myself day to day, like needing to be myself in spaces, but also really seeing through, we've talked about this in the previous episode, but, you know, through improv, the way I'm able to connect with people, I know that things work better and people feel better when we are connected and communicating. And I'd been doing this work on the side for, at that point, it had been, what, a year and a half since we had met and you had introduced me to the field of applied improv.
Yeah.
It completely rocked my world. So I had been slowly doing that, and I was about to transition to a new role in my local health department that would have been, I think, pretty challenging for me. Really slow, lots of computer work. I wouldn't be using my strengths or the things that light me up, but I was going to do it. But I feel like it represented stability in a nutshell. That was like the for sure choice. I had been building up to this specific position for 3 years. All of it felt very structured, and I would get insurance, all the things.
Yep. The adult decision.
Yeah, which a lot of the adults in my life were like, "This is good. This is good for you."
Mhm.
Um,
Yes.
but then my world completely changed and, like, shattered and was fully inverted. Yeah, in September, I had learned that my, like, best friend, love of my life, Sabrina, had died. And
Mm.
we're very young, like, I'm 27 right now, she was 26, and that obviously completely also rocked my world and also made me really question stuff going on in my life and the things that I wanted and the things I was doing. And first of all, I was like, there's no way I'm about to pack up and go to work for the government in a week from now. Like, I'm not doing well. I was like in
Right.
the throes
Yeah.
of
You
grief.
need time to grieve. Yeah.
And also, I was kind of like, well, it was one of those moments, and not just moments, like an ongoing realization of like, dang, now is really the time. Life is truly so short, and I have lots of these skills. I love doing this thing. I don't feel like I can go to that other job that I'd accepted, but I need to have a job, unfortunately, to survive. What am I going to do? And I was talking with my very close friend Jenny on my couch, and I was just like, I don't know if I can take this job. It doesn't feel right. And Jenny's like, ugh, I also do not feel good at my
Mm.
job. I was promised that I'd be like making an impact. I don't feel like I am, or the values of my organization look one way and they are another. They were like, I really want to start my own business. I have this entrepreneurship degree. I've always been told that I should be an entrepreneur. And I was like, oh, well, I just have this thing that I love doing, but I don't want to run a business. I just want to do my improv stuff. I have no interest in like building a website or any of the logistical things. And we kind of looked at each other. We're like, wait, for
Wait a
real?
second.
Uh, we're like, but that would be wild if we actually did that. And we did. Yeah,
Hey.
because it really was the perfect match because it felt so overwhelming. I have no idea how you do it, Dana. It felt so overwhelming to me to think about both managing all of these pieces of having your own business as well as like doing the programming and actually, you know, doing the research, being involved in the field and putting on workshops or events or programming. Like I felt, especially as I was grieving, I was like, that is way too much for me to take on.
Oh, yeah.
And
For sure.
so it's been a beautiful, beautiful partnership and definitely a scary thing to really take a leap. I don't have a what one of my friends called a W-2 job. Like, I don't have a, 9 to 5 like that anymore. So it feels really so good. Like, it feels like I am doing things that align with my values. The work that I'm doing really lights me up, and I believe in it so strongly. And, I leave workshops feeling energized and connected. And instead of a day where
Yes.
I like walk around like a zombie, like people are crying in these workshops, Dana. It's so good.
So
Uh,
good.
Thanks. And the name Kaleidoscope was a Jenny idea. Because at this point, when we were like first starting everything, they had all of these ideas about the way things would look and the name. And I was still very much like in my grief bubble. And they told me that they had had this dream. And in this dream, I'm gonna like mess it up a little bit, but I think this is the story. In the dream, the name came to them and they saw a kaleidoscope or something. And it was perfect because a kaleidoscope, when you put it up to the light, refracts light, makes these beautiful patterns, and as you move it and change it, it becomes something entirely new all the time, something that's never been like made before or seen before in this very unique way, which is very improv, I feel like. And it's colorful and alive, and yeah, it's great. It's a little bit challenging because no one knows how to spell kaleidoscope, so
I heard you say that a few times.
yeah.
Yeah.
Our website's a little long, my email address is very long, but I loved the idea. I'm very yeah, the, like, name, the logo, all that stuff is Jenny's gorgeous brainchild.
Oh my gosh. Well, I look at it as a positive because then you teach people how to spell kaleidoscope. I would spell it like it's Doscope. I would spell it
Correct.
DE, kaleidoscope. I think that's how it's pronounced. So you taught me how to spell kaleidoscope too. So thank you.
Of course, and, the I before E, except after C
Yes.
rule is confusing because it's Kalei.
You're right.
It's
I love
tricky.
that came to Jenny in a dream. That's incredible. My dreams are not as informative as that. I'm so jealous. Like, I had a dream last night that a capybara, I think that's like a South American animal, was like attacking me in a hotel room that I was staying in. So I don't know what that means. I don't think that's business oriented, but I just love how that name came to them in a dream. Like, wow, amazing. I think that means, like, alignment for sure.
That's a business model I can get behind, a dream-based business.
Right?
Absolutely. Well, yeah, we're all about supporting and following each other's dreams and visions. I'm like, yeah, dream away.
I love that. One, I'm so sorry for your friend Sabrina, their family, your loss. I mean, just so heartbreaking to hear. I remember when you told me and just felt for you so much. And I think so many of us can relate. Like, you have this huge world shift and something happens, and then you're expected to go back to work like a week later. At least in the US, we get, I think, 3 to 5 days bereavement leave if you're related to the person, right? And this is your best friend for life. I hate that it happened this way. It was the catalyst for you starting your business, but also I'm so glad to hear that you feel like you're thriving and you're just in such alignment. I mean, I relate to it too. Like, why do we need this huge world shift and catalyst to actually put us into perspective of what life is all about, right? But I'm so glad you listened and you weren't like, "No, I need to have that W-2 job to feel safe and stable." Bump that. I wanna feel in alignment and feel good, and the fact that you feel lit up after each session, I can feel that too. Like, I'm so lit up after each thing. You're like, "I must be doing something right because this feels so dang good."
Yes. I mean, it feels like I've been able to learn so much from all of my improv practice. It really was that, do I take a risk that feels so, so worth it? And like, genuinely, what's the
Yeah.
worst thing that could happen is maybe it doesn't work out and then I go get some W-2 job, whatever.
Yeah.
Or it's the best thing ever, doing the thing that feels risky and bold is something that I even just talked about recently in one of the community improv workshops that I was teaching. Someone made a really bold choice in a big scene, and everyone was praising that person, and they were like, wow, this got to like amazing places we could have never envisioned. Like, you really took it there, and that was so cool. And really noticing, oh yeah, the value of a bold choice can take us so far. And I think sometimes takes, you said, a big perspective shift or something to really, I think I needed to be woken up. I was a little zombified, but I was reminded that I am alive, so I should freaking live.
Yes. And I love that phrase, the value of a bold choice, because, it feels safe and comfortable in our comfort zones. But also, does it feel like we're living when you have to put on a mask at work and be someone else and not be your authentic self? And I mean, we talked all about this in the conference and being authentic and vulnerable. And you had a vulnerable moment and now you're living. And that's incredible. And I gotta ask you, how's business going so far? I know you're in the first year, even first few months. Like, how's it going so far?
Thanks for asking. Yeah, first few months has been pretty wild. Like, a lot is happening really quickly, mostly in terms of establishing things, which has
Hmm.
been, I'm gonna use the word dream again. It's been a dream.
Yes.
It's been a pretty intense, sometimes still kind of scary, but overall, really, we are building something, me and Jenny, that is like, I don't know, it's whatever we want to build, and that still is blowing my mind. You know, we're spending all this time working on formation documents, really writing out what are our values, what are the kinds of things that we want to be doing, what kinds of groups do we want to be working with and supporting. Like, the fact that all of that is something that we get to choose is definitely something that feels really special to both of us as like now business owners. So that piece has been so wonderful to be building. And I think it definitely helps that I've, for the past 2 years now, been doing this work on the side. Like, I have some already existing clients and gigs, and we had applied and gotten accepted to this conference that we're talking about now before the formation of Kaleidoscope. Yeah, there's a lot that's already been in the works, but I think what the most exciting piece so far is we've really been able to branch out. I love doing medical improv and working with, health promotion folks and the medical community, and definitely is something that we are looking to do more of and find more people who want to work with us. But something that I wasn't really expecting that was a fun surprise was these community workshops that we've started doing roughly
Yeah.
once or twice a month. Because as I talk about this, I'm sure you probably have similar experiences when you're talking with folks. When I share about applied improv and this work that I do, people are like, well, I'm not a doctor, but like I could really use some communication skills, or like, wow, that sounds really
Right.
awesome. I'm not at all in that field, but like, how do I get a piece of that? Or I just want to play more, or I want to make new friends, period. Like, all of those things. And I'm like, wait, I could totally offer something like that for community members, for anyone who wants to come. And I live in San Diego, so I do them locally. But I'm working also on some online ones to expand that because I think that would be great. But it's been so amazing to also branch out and get folks from all over to come and play and share their experiences, and to use applied improv more directly applied to people's personal lives. It's really beautiful, I think, to do it in work, and something that is so interesting to me. Obviously, I talked about how I often had to shut myself down or away to
Mhm.
be surviving at work, but to really be able to, in a workspace, encourage folks to be more authentic, to be able to create spaces that feel hopefully like safe enough to play and explore and connect with folks. That is like a dream. I love doing that for people at work. But it's also really cool, just like in people's personal lives, to see how that can change and grow and also just be like a silly, fun time. So it's been going well. I definitely am looking for more opportunities all the time. And I feel like the conference circuit is a really fun way to, like you said, meet a ton of people, to share this work with folks and get connected. And so it's going well.
Having that abundance mindset, this is what lights us up. We've chosen to work with these groups of people. Certainly, if an opportunity comes up, we'll see if it aligns. But
Yeah.
really being like, these are the groups I want to work with, and really opening yourself up to that and like what opportunities come from that. I think sometimes I know as a business owner, like I get a request and I'm like, I have to take it no matter what, like no matter what the request is or the money. And it's like, no, no, hold on. There is plenty of
Right.
business to go around. I don't have to panic. I can take it slow. We're building a foundation here, and I can accept the gigs that I want to accept and that light me up. And I think that's really important that you and Jenny are doing that work of, this is what we want, this is how we're going to do it, like really building that foundation. Sounds like you're being very responsible business owners too.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I feel very responsible in this work. Like the work that we do as applied improv facilitators or, facilitators in general, I feel a great responsibility to all the communities that I'm in, to the folks at large, to all of the medical community, to anyone I'm working with. I feel like to be holding emotional spaces, vulnerable spaces is a huge responsibility and not something that I take lightly because I know that what we do is so powerful and it is so good. And the abundance mindset is wonderful because every time I'm sharing stuff about this work with folks, people are never like, "Oh, learning through play is never going to work," or "that sounds boring." It's usually the feedback is of curiosity and interest and respect or wanting to work with us. So I think knowing that there are enough people to do that and knowing that the way we spend our time and resources is so valuable. Like if big oil sends me an email and is do a thing for us, I don't actually have to support that. I know that by placing my time and energy in things that I feel are helpful and supportive and are things that I can support, we are helping build the kind of world that we deserve to live in. And that is a responsibility that I take on very seriously and very personally.
Amen to that. I wholeheartedly agree. And I love that you mentioned too that some friends of yours were like, "Well, I'm not a doctor, but I still wanna play and get these skills," because that is exactly how we formed our sessions around, like, the idea that, in our work, we go and get our master's degrees of public health, and we learn all of these theories and models and systems in place to plan, implement, and evaluate health programs, equitable health programs, community-based workplace programs. And yet you get into the workplace and you go, okay, well, I know these theories, but then do you have the collaboration skills and the communication skills to really help actually make those theories and models work? And so that's exactly how we designed our sessions. And so I'll tell our listeners in our first episode, we talked all about how busy we were at the conference. We were like, we were so busy. We had 2 breakout sessions and we had 2 activity sessions. And you know what? We were even busier this year. We had 2 days of an intensive training, which means it was 8 hours each day for 2 days, 16 hours of applied improv training, which, oh my god, is a dream come true. And then Wednesday, we had an hour breakout session in the morning and then an hour activity session in the evening, which was just pure fun and joy. So Monday to Wednesday, we were quite busy being very serious about playing and leading these improv workshops. And they were so much fun, right, Jesse?
Oh, such a joy. And I mean, that's the whole point, right? If we're not having fun, we're doing something wrong in an
Yeah,
improv
for
session.
sure.
And I was pretty nervous. I was like, wow, 2 days is a lot. Like, it's going to be great. We
Yeah.
have so much to share. We obviously have 2 days worth of stuff to share, stuff to learn and learn from each other. But is that going to be exhausting? Is that going to be engaging for that long of a time? And It really was. It really was.
It was not exhausting. I was worried it was gonna be exhausting and draining too, and I felt very much alive after each day as well.
I think that's something that really supported that was the flexibility that we're able to offer. I think our improv skills really support our facilitator skills, obviously. But, like when it took a really long time to get lunch, our group stayed and had a longer lunch and continued sharing and talking. And even though it was not like the formal classroom environment, we obviously were still connecting and learning. And even that, connection piece is obviously really valuable to supporting each other's learning. And on the very first day, we took a break to go watch the eclipse. I
Oh,
think
that
what
was
feels
so
so
fun.
good, right? Like nothing is so serious in the work that we do that we can't like pause to live our lives and take breaks when we need to. Like I think that made it feel a lot more flexible, and I felt energized after instead of, "We have to just keep pushing," or some other mindset.
Absolutely. Yeah, our intensive training session was titled Applied Improvisation: skills-based training for health promotion leaders. We had 5 people join us for this 16-hour session. Brave souls, at least we think it's open for everyone, but seeing that title is a bit intimidating, and they all came for, like, different reasons. I remember one person said they have been in the field of corporate wellness for 20 years, and they've seen it all, and they wanted something to kind of just get out of their comfort zone, and they really did, and then one person said that they came to our session the last year, our breakout session, and saw that we were presenting and were like, "Oh, I have to do this." So, it was cool to see why people joined, like, what they wanted to get out of it. So, I'll tell our listeners some of the focus areas that we had within the 16 hours, and we broke it up really well. So, we talked about growth mindset, which is yes and mindset. We focused on active listening and communication, authenticity and vulnerability, compassion, psychological safety, the art of facilitation, which really kind of uses all of those focus areas and combines it into one, and you being the facilitator. And then at the end, on the second half of the second day, we called it Project Playground, where we asked people for issues in their workplace that they're really working on and they need help with. And then we sat around the table together and we brainstormed ideas. We let that person be the lead facilitator and get to use those skills that we had been practicing for the past 2 days. And I'm getting chills just like talking about it because it just went so well. I was so nervous going into it just because, full transparency, this is my first time leading a 2-day workshop. I don't want it to be the last now. It was so much fun, it was so joyful, and we showed that we really can fill that time and space in such a meaningful way.
Oh, yeah. Like, the 2 days, we could have kept going. I remember at the
Oh,
end
yeah, we could've. We could do a whole week.
at the Oh, yeah, at the end, I was like, "Oh, I feel like we could keep going," and not sure how others would respond, and people were like, "Yeah, me too." I don't want it to end because something that's so beautiful about having such a small group and so much time together doing, pretty vulnerable and connecting activities and work is that we really, in 2 days, got to learn a lot about each other and get really connected. And yeah, I think that also lends itself to better and more enhanced learning. When you feel supported and you have all this evidence from the past several hours that you're going to be supported and listened to and cared for by these people, makes it a lot easier to maybe participate more fully in the exercises, to be able to get more out of it, to create that learning environment that, you know, often takes a while, like repeated sessions to build. By cramming it all in 2 days, we were able to build that kind of environment that felt like people were actually able to play in, which was really special.
I really liked how we structured it. So I just gave you the list of our focus areas, but after each one, that was like a core, like 1 to 2 hour focus for each one. And so we'd say, okay, we're going to focus on this area, maybe give a few slides of like research and evidence based. What is the research saying? Why is this needed in our field? And then we would stop the like kind of lecture. I say lecture in quotes. It was a very open discussion. People could contribute, ask questions. And then we would circle up. We would stand up or get into pairs. We would do exercises together for about an hour. So we'd run different games and exercises related to those focus areas. We would debrief after each one. And then after, we would sit and let them have reflection on their own, and then reflection with a partner. They could share what came up. And then we'd come together as a group to share. And sometimes it wasn't always that regimented. We'd combine some and things, but it was not rushed. We had time, but that time allowed us to really dive into what we're feeling and what people could take back. I'm just basking in the fun, like oh, and I do wanna add too that I think this was a common phrase that we said at in day 2. We kept saying, "We are so synced up right now." Like, we played a
Yeah.
game, it's part of psychological safety where you have to count to 20 as a group, and everyone looks down, and we just count to 20 one at a time, and then if people interrupt each other, then we start over. And usually this game can take a while. It can take 5, 10 minutes. It depends how long you let it go for, how much time you have. It took us 3 minutes as a group to do that. And I remember saying, "Gosh, we're so synced up right now." And then in the afternoon, we played a group mind exercise where 2 people, they count to 3 and then they say a word. So we go 1, 2, 3, word. And then, you go around and you try to like condense it to actually where both people say the same word at the same time. And that can take a long time too to get on the same page, get that group mind. I think it took us just like a circle of everyone to get through, like maybe another 3 minutes to do. It's like, wow, like you could feel it. You could see it and feel it, how synced up we were after just 2 days with each other.
Yeah, I agree. It was definitely magical to be a part of that and to be, like, witnessing people getting more I don't know. I feel like what was really magical was being able to see that connection build as we were doing more of these
Mhm.
activities, and I think it also really speaks to the deep listening that folks were doing. People were really noticing things about each other and picking things up, and, in improv, we talk about giving and receiving gifts. I feel like people were really receiving the gifts that were going around and supporting them. So I feel like that, yeah, that is like the recipe for connection. And all of that good experiential learning that you had just talked about, I think the way that we formatted it and set it up is like ideal for this type of experiential learning where, we'll talk about something and it's important to share the research and give the background and then to right away be able to practice that and see, oh, maybe here's where I'm not really getting it, or oh, now I know what this feels like in my body. Like I've had this experience now. I know a little bit more about it, or I can see how this works. I think having that ability to do that on the spot and to do that to really integrate the learning immediately is so powerful and helped us, yeah, create those connections.
What was your favorite standout moment or part of the intensive?
Oh, that's so hard. I
It's
should have
hard to
thought
pick
about
one.
this before. Of the 16 hours that we spent
I know,
together.
right?
There was so much silly joy. And okay, I think it was really cute and so sweet. We played this game called I Am a Tree, and which
Yes.
is so many things. It's a support game, it's a listening game, it's a world building game where someone will go up to the stage, whatever that looks like. We were just in a room, but we'll go up and say, I'm a tree. And then one by one, people will fill in the world around them. Maybe they're like, I'm the swing hanging off the branch of the tree, until we get a whole world that everyone is included in, that we've all built together. And watching the like speed and excitement that folks were playing that game. And I think my favorite moment was at the end. They were like, wait, can we, like, I don't know, asking to play it again or wanting to do that. And it just felt so joyful and sweet, and got to the point where, not that I forgot that we were in a training, I knew that.
Of course,
Um,
right. We're always in
right, but I'm
control.
like,
Yes.
yes, but I'm like, "Oh, we're really just, like, having a ball." Like, this is so deeply enjoyable, this is so silly, we're here getting to learn, but the desire to lean into something that felt really good and was fun, and I just think that moment felt really sweet to me. I'm sure I'll think of a billion moments as we're talking, but that was a highlight for me.
And the creativity that people had. I think we played I Am a Tree 3 times probably, at least. We played it, I think, halfway through in the first day, and then people asked, "Can we play it again to end it?" And like, "Sure." And then the next day we're like, "Can we play it again?" And then every time, like, people got a little bolder in their choices, and, like, the things that they were adding to the scene, the little tableau we were painting and making were brilliant. I mean, just I think that's a sign of collaboration because it's like, "Oh, I would have never come up with those things." But together we built that because me creating this thing made you think of this thing. And I think one was like a witch or something. Like there were so many characters that came out. I think someone was like a red carpet, like just like the red carpet. And it's just the creativity we had in that was just so brilliant. And also the smiles and the laughter too. So fun.
It's the listening, it's the power of the bold choice, it's really letting yourself be affected by other people and their decisions, like, not pre-planning, "Oh, there's a tree," and then maybe 4 more people go, and you're like, "Oh, I'll just do the thing that I was thinking of." You're really building on what someone is doing right before you, and it's growing, it's changing, it's this deep listening and awareness and desire to support others' choices by supporting that bold choice, like we're building something wacky and gorgeous.
I think someone was wind with the tree at one point, like, it was oh, I think I was a cow because the wind made me think of tornado, and I was like, "I'm gonna be a cow." And those ideas, you don't think of until someone else has them. You're like, "Oh, I can add to it." That was so fun.
Yes, the creativity that is unlocked when you're inspired by others' creativity, as well as encouraged to be in that kind of environment where you're
Yeah.
playing, I think really leads to these ideas that get us outside of our heads and bodies and get us thinking in this like other dimension where we are the wind. There's something so special about that, and even though it's a very simple game, yeah, I loved it. What was your favorite part?
All of it, of course, which I know is the safe, simple answer, but I will say I really loved the end when we did our improvised graduation ceremony, which we came up with because with the intensive, you're supposed to give out a certificate of attendance or achievement, and we were like, "That's so boring and lame, like, you'll get that from the conference, whatever, but let's make it special," and how it happened and then how it evolved to because we were so synced up, we ended up, standing at the back of the room, we had everyone line up and they walked one by one to the back of the room and they shook hands with us, they got their invisible degree, their certificate, and then they all gave a little speech at the end, which we did not plan for. We did not ask them to do that. And the first person did it, said a few words of what they got out of the workshop, and then they all did it. And then at the end, we all turned our invisible tassels and we threw our invisible hats in the air. And what a great way to wrap up, just really summarize the whole part of the workshop. Everyone was on board, everyone was excited, everyone contributed. Again, I have chills just because 'cause I'm like, "Ah, what a special group that was."
Me too. I'm like beaming right now. You were playing Pomp and Circumstance, the graduation song on your
Yes.
phone. Like it just was so special what we were able to create in the moment. And something that is so helpful for me, especially, transitioning out of the conference bubble into the rest of our lives, or also just like we had a really pretty intense, like emotional experience also in this workshop. And to be able to kind of have a ritual, to have some representative moment of this is ending, we're appreciating the experience and each other, like us as a group, to be able to ritualize it in that way is both so helpful for me and my brain as like okay, we have some closure. Yeah, I really appreciated that we were able to do that and how everyone was so in sync and on board and excited. There's something so special about being in a group of people who all clearly really want to be there and are on board. And yeah, I'm really grateful for the folks who signed up and stayed, like who came both days. They showed up, they like participated to the max. Yeah, I feel really grateful for them and for you.
So grateful. Yes. I do want to highlight your skills as a facilitator too, because I was noticing as we were getting into the day and we were getting into the reflection part and people sharing and such, I noticed that I was getting really excited. And when I get excited, I think I don't interrupt on purpose, but I interject and I'm like, yeah, and I add to it. And I feel like sometimes as the facilitator, that can steer the conversation. Right or wrong, it doesn't matter. But then I just inevitably cut off what they were going to say. Again, not in a manipulative way or anything, but it's just how it happens. And so you were really good at bringing it back to, hey, what else were you going to say? And "Oh, did you have any more to add there?" Like, you really gave space for people, whereas when I get excited, I rush, and then my excitement just takes over, and I actually learned a lot from watching you as a facilitator in that moment. I'm like, "Slow down, we're good, enjoy this moment, and listen. We can add to it later, but just listen." And I was getting those constant cues and reminders from you, which I so appreciated.
Oh, thank you. Go team. I feel like there's so many ways we're able to pick up for each other and support each other in that way because sometimes that also like leads the conversation in a really helpful way when you're like, "Oh, I'm curious about this," or, when you're like excited and you're like, I want to make sure we do this thing," or, whatever it is that when you're feeling excited and feel like you're rushing. When I feel excited, I'm like, tell me everything. Like I think that shows up in us in different ways, which also allows us to build off of each other's strengths as facilitators and co-facilitators. But I really appreciate that. That's something that's very important to me because I often feel like there are not a lot of spaces where people really get to like take up space or like explore their own
Yes.
ideas. So I'm like, see it through. Say all the things you gotta say, and we're like here to hear it.
We're here to hear it. And let's now shift gears to our breakout session, which we had on Wednesday morning after the keynote. I will say we had an excellent time slot. It's the first breakout session of the conference. It's right after a really good keynote session. People are lit up, they're excited. So we had a lot of good energy coming into the room. And our breakout session was called The Need for Fundamental, Fun Capitalized and Fundamental Skills Training for Effective, Equitable, and Sustainable Health Promotion. Honestly, just insert any industry sector instead of health promotion. Like, there is a need for these fundamental skills and we got to highlight them in our breakout session. And I mean, the room was packed and we only let it once. So maybe people saw we were only on there once, but the room was full, which was awesome.
Yeah, that always feels really good. And I think, yeah, you are definitely right. People were feeling excited. It's the beginning. It's that keynote had happened. So I feel like I looked out to our group of folks who had come and everyone was like smiling at the edge of their seat, like, what's about to happen? I'm at a session with the word fun in all caps in the title. And I feel like it was really beautiful. Like we got to talk about some building blocks for health equity that, the skills that we learn through improv are like vital. We talked about like resilience, authenticity, vulnerability, flexibility, compassion, which we talked about this in the previous episode too. Things that are often buzzwords or discounted as, oh yeah, well, just be more flexible. But without
Yeah.
the actual
But how?
grounding, what does that mean?
Right.
So breaking down like, okay, we need these things. This is why this is part of the recipe for the stew of health equity, all of these pieces. But then how do we both build those up within ourselves and integrate those also into larger systems that go into this inequitable health system that we currently have? And how can we change it and shift the way that we are relating to each other, the way that we're connecting to advance health equity?
Well, and I will say that we had a full room. I think we did benefit from one session being actually, you know what? I won't discount it. Our session was really good. We did have a session that got canceled, and it was on what was it? Psychedelic assisted therapies, which is super interesting too. So, we might have lost a few folks if that session had happened, but the room was full. We showed the research and points about applied improv or AI, the other AI that no one refers to as AI, and how it can provide experiential learning and skills to help you in your workplace, in your life. And then we played 2 exercises. We actually had 3. We did yes, let's as an icebreaker, and then we did a yes and game, planning a conference party using either no but or yes and seeing what came up with that. And then, I mean, we talked about flexibility. We actually had to exercise our own flexibility in the session too, because when we did the yes and game, which was they got 1 minute to plan a conference party, end of conference party, using just no but or no because or yes but, and then they got another minute to plan using yes and. And I mean, again, the room is buzzing, it's full. So after that exercise, one of the conference organizers comes in and whispers to us and says, "Hey, you're being too loud and disturbing the other groups and the other presenters. They can't hear the presenters on the other side of the wall." And we go, "Oh, okay, we'll try to calm it down," but secretly, in both of our heads, we're like, "Yes, we did it. We caused a ruckus."
Too much laughter and joy.
So then, for the next exercise, which we were planning to be a pairs exercise again, we then said, "Okay, hey team, we're being a little loud, we're disturbing the others. So instead of everyone breaking out, we're gonna ask for 2 volunteers to run this exercise so that you can see how it works." And our 2 volunteers were excellent, they did a great job. We were a little rushed at the end because I will say, at least in my mind, we were so used to having so much time and space to talk about things in the intensive, and then we went to a 1-hour breakout that, we held on to the slides a lot longer. We were just so excited about it. And then, we had to rush through the exercises piece, which I know people wanted a lot of. So I say if I and when we do this again, we now know that informs it to, get through the material and allow more playtime.
Yes, that I think is the challenge of being a research nerd. Because I I want to share, I want to be like, look what's happening in the field. This like theory stuff that is so interesting to me, especially because we had gotten to do a lot of playtime and 16 hours versus 1 hour is a very different kind of thing and different pace. But I think hearing all the feedback that I've gotten all the time is like, talk less, play more. And
Mhm.
I need to listen. And I think as I practice more, it's getting better and better. But I
Yes.
also think that is super helpful for me to hear because a lot of the time, I still feel like I have to defend myself and improv as a whole and applied improv and this work that we do, where I am like, I have to justify it with all of this research. Sometimes when you're trying to, get people on board with the idea of play and learning through silly games, I often feel like there's a type of convincing I have to do, or I have to,
Yes.
prepare myself with all the data to be like, I promise this is legit. But in a setting like that, or I feel like most of the setting, the way that people are actually going to really get it is by doing it. And I mean, that's the whole point of the work, is that we want it to be applied, we want it to be experiential. It's tough to balance sharing the information, sharing the research. But I think a lot of the work not speaks for itself. We definitely need to speak about it a bit, but it speaks for itself more. Like, I want to give it more credit.
Yeah, I think if we had the chance to do it a second time, we would have just crushed on the timing piece of it, and there will be a second time, so that wasn't just like a one and done thing. I will say we just today, right before this, we got our feedback from the conference and some of the comments that people had, and I just wanted to read one of them.
Oh.
Let's see.
While you're looking, I would love to highlight that your idea to have two people come up and play the game so it's a little bit quieter, and also so that other people could observe, was so cool and special. I feel like I talk about the power of observation and how, it's very important to be playing these games and participating, but, to also observe others in their state of play, and also to be observed, for the folks who were volunteering. All of that is like a really special way to engage with it. So that was a great idea.
I was proud of the flexibility in the moment, like the improv at play. Oh, we improvised here because we weren't planning to do that. We weren't planning to get super loud. I secretly hoped that we would get loud in the intensive. I didn't expect it to happen in the breakout session. And yeah, thank you. I
Right.
appreciate that. Just a funny tidbit with what came up. I ended up using the word eluberant. I think I was trying to say exuberant, and I used the word eluberant, and then I actually doubled down and, like, used it 2 other times as, like, a callback. I was so proud of myself after because I was like, "I used a callback. I used a callback."
Yes.
And, yeah, so, like, the improv training, the clown training, the stand-up training, like, all of it's paying off now as a speaker too.
Awesome.
I found some comments. One person said, I do a lot of coaching, and this session rekindled an awareness of active listening to, validating, and encouraging folks during coaching. And I think I saw one more I wanted to read. Oh, yeah, wait. There it is. Here it is. Facilitators are unquestionably following their fate, engaging, forgiving, silly, kind. I had a beautiful time. Who
Our
wrote that? That's
fate?
so sweet,
Oh my gosh. That is stunning. That's so sweet. Thanks for
isn't
reading
it?
that. Yeah.
Well, and then after that session, we had our 1 hour of play called Play to Connect. We did our activity session, which was just us playing games, not a ton of debrief, just pure silly, fun play. We had about 10 people attend that. Some of the interns attended too, and they just couldn't stop laughing the whole time, which is just so joyful. How did you feel about that one?
I loved that one. I mean, I think an activity session, like, to give you an idea, some of the other activity sessions were things like journaling and like some
Yeah.
fitness type classes. So this is really just a health engagement playtime class. So I love playing these silly games with people. I love, like you mentioned, that some of the interns came. Something that I think is so special about this conference, and maybe others, I haven't seen it happen in others the way I've seen it
Mm-mm.
in this one,
Same.
but the way that people are so excited to engage and connect, like, I will fully be speaking with someone and then later realize, and, we're having, like, a silly conversation about something, and later realize that they've done, like, incredible work in their field, and they are some illustrious, famed person,
Yeah.
and I love that people are down to just, like, connect as humans, regardless of age. Like, I really appreciated how down to clown people are.
Down to clown. And, yeah, I love the interns. They're just so cute and sweet and eager to learn, and We always get a few who come to the activity session and they just have a good time. And I think it opens their world too, because they're not doing any of this in their classes.
For sure.
Jesse, I got to ask, so what's next for you and Kaleidoscope Training Center? What are your plans post-conference now?
Post-conference. So many plans, an unbelievable amount of plans. A lot of them are dreams that we would like to see become plans. Back to the dreaming phase again. But we're building up more of these community workshops and starting to
Yes.
offer some more online courses. I think that it will probably have passed by the time this episode will be released, but I'm going to be doing an online, like a virtual improv for communication workshop. I think it will probably be building up to a series at some point. So having more virtual offerings for folks, anyone to come, not specific to any field or anything like that, because I do think it's so important to leave these open to anyone. Because I have, some upcoming gigs with organizations, but those are like for their employees. I'm not able to invite anyone to that,
Right.
obviously, or folks who are interested. That's like for an employee wellness program or for a medical school. I'm training medical students. Yeah, working with a lot of schools. I love to work with schools. If you're a school, text me. But um, I feel really excited also about exploring, kind of in the same vein of not feeling like I have to like always defend and legitimize play by making it about something very serious, the medical field is also kind of branching out to other pieces of myself, more of other creative pieces, or building up and supporting communities and being able to relate to each other. I feel like I know so many friends who are still like, I still don't know how to make friends as an adult, or just like
Hmm.
needing a space that's not like your home or your work to go to play. Or, we talk so much about how we don't often get trained in these skills as humans, trained in things like communication, flexibility, resilience. But to be able to provide a space to explore those things and have fun, I love doing that and trying to make it as accessible for as many people as possible. I'm working with a lot of queer youth. They're one of my favorite groups of people to work with. Literally the most creative beings on this planet. They're so good.
Yes.
Genuinely, when I'm like working with middle schoolers, I'm like, you guys should come to my adult class and show them how it's
Oh,
done.
yes,
Um,
they should.
Especially these gorgeous, queer, expansive kids who have, their world is so wide and open in so many ways. And, you know, yeah, before I go on my long tirade, I'm thrilled to be working with them, and I'm mostly just really looking for more opportunities at this point. I'm so excited. I have more time now that this is my full-time
Yes.
work, and really looking, because also something that I love about this work is that I'm always challenged to do something new and work with new people or create something new. Um, so I feel really open and excited to branching out. Like I love working within the medical field. I love working with social workers and teachers, like other social services people, folks who are often on like the front lines of working with other people. I love doing that, but also really open to where this journey takes me, maybe some dance, other I don't know, other types of creative arts. And yeah, I'm just excited and feeling really open.
Sounds like you have a really good growth mindset and yes and mindset in your business, and just let's see where it goes let's see where it takes us. Yes, and certainly having good boundaries, of course, but yes, and keep exploring and seeing what discoveries come up. That's
Oh,
amazing.
thanks. Yeah, if I know one thing, it's that I have no idea what's about to happen.
And that is okay.
Oh, it's more than okay, because I remember growing up and even in college, I was like, I know that my dream job either doesn't exist or like I don't know about it right now. Like I know that it's not something that I've ever heard of before. And now here we are. I have this business doing this thing that I did not know existed, which is a combination of so many of my loves and degrees and expertise. And I'm only 27. I don't know. I'm like, who knows where this could go? I feel so excited for whatever it is.
Oh, we don't know what's going to happen and we don't have to panic. We can actually enjoy and see what comes up. And it might be the most beautiful thing. But if we panic and try to control it, then that usually leads to saying, "Oh, I'll stay in the comfort zone," you know? But just saying, "Hey, I don't know what's coming up and I feel so good about it. I wanna get on your level. I wanna be there because that's the way to live."
Oh, it's very exciting. It's never boring. And it's very yes and, right?
Mhm.
Where, in I'm a Tree, when someone is like, it's a beautiful scene, someone's a tree, someone's a bird, and someone's, I love volcano. It's all right. We're working with the volcano now. Like, where's that going to take us? Are we going to, create a whole new island right now? Like with a rupture of a volcano? Like, it feels really exciting because I know that there's so much chaos and there's so much changing all the time. To be able to have that confidence within myself to know that I will roll with it. This last year has been really tough. And I'm like, if I can do that, I could for real do anything. And of course, a decade of improv training also has helped.
For sure. That helps. Well, and you mentioned you're open to gigs and opportunities and possibilities, so where and how can our listeners find out more about you?
Yes, thank you for asking. Yeah, I'm gonna spell kaleidoscope just in
Do
case.
it. Do it.
Okay, ready? Kaleidoscope. Thanks. Okay, that's how you spell kaleidoscope. Our website is kaleidoscopetrainingcenter.com. There we have like all the info that you will need. All the mission and vision and values and stuff that I was talking about in the beginning, what the work is that we do, as well as all the logistical details. And you can also see upcoming workshops. So if you're interested in like maybe a virtual workshop, or you are close to San Diego and would like to come to something in person, or maybe, I don't know, I'm mobile, maybe I'm doing something in person near you, all of that will be at kaleidoscopetrainingcenter.com or on our Instagram, which is also Kaleidoscope Training Center. And our LinkedIn, we also post some stuff on LinkedIn, and it's like Kaleidoscope training center. And the last one, if you want to email me, which this is also on the website and is pretty easily accessible, but it's my name, Jesse, Jesse, at kaleidoscopetrainingcenter.com. It's a long email address, but once you email me once, then it'll just pop up.
Yeah.
So
You just gotta do it once, and then it's in your contacts.
yeah, and we're very open to working with a lot of different folks. I feel very proud of this and very excited to be working with Jenny, who is pretty well versed in doing some like inclusive business models. So we have a lot of sliding scale payment type things. Like we really want to
Oh,
make this like
nice.
accessible and supportive to community. So definitely encourage folks to reach out.
I love that. Jesse, I hate to say goodbye, but I know we'll talk again because honestly, I think we make a great team. I mean, we're improvisers, so that helps, but I think we collaborate so well together. And I just want to say that, we had a lot of planning. We met once a week since January, leading up to April for the conference. We would meet once a week to work on our presentations. And I can just remember coming into some of our meetings being low energy, and I would tell you that, like, "Oh, I'm tired, I'm low energy today." And after the hour, I would be so lit up and so excited, and that is the energy that you bring into your relationships with people, your friendships, and also to the world. You brighten my day, you brighten others' days. I hope we don't have to wait a whole year to do our next collaboration is what I'm trying to say. I hope we can collaborate again sooner, but you know what? If not, look out, Art and Science of Health Promotion Conference. We're submitting again and hopefully for other things as well.
Yeah, that's our place. No, I really, really appreciate this collaboration. I mean, you fully have ushered me into this field. I still like cannot thank you enough for that, and feel really grateful for the way that we work together, the like consistency in which we're able to show up for each other. And also,
Yes.
like we've mentioned a few times, like really support each other by using our strengths to build up
Yes.
this team that we've created. So I feel really grateful and excited about it as well.
We will talk soon because we've got some proposals to work on. And we also got to reach out to our friends in our intensive session because we all gave each other emails. And it's like, oh, we got to connect again after talking about it. We'll definitely be starting a little thread with our core group of peeps because, I mean, we got to check in and see how they're doing with their applied improv skills now.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, can't wait.
Jesse, thank you so much for being on. I can't wait to see all the beautiful and gorgeous things that Kaleidoscope. We've already spelled it and we used our bodies to spell it out in the video too. I can't wait to see what Kaleidoscope Training Center accomplishes. Congrats and break a leg because you're doing an amazing job.
Thanks, Dana.
And thank you for listening to today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. I know this is a very heavy debrief, especially if you weren't there. You're like, oh, I didn't get to experience that. But I hope you could just see how much fun Jesse and I have when we're together and when we collaborate. And, we bring in both of our worlds and both of our brains. And there's just so much excitement and enthusiasm around applied improv. And I think that definitely comes through when we present together too. I love working with Jesse because they're very much into research, and I am about 10 years out of school, 10 years plus out of my grad school experience now. And I just feel like in grad school, I had to read a lot of research papers. So then when I got out of school, I was like, I'm never reading research papers ever again. I don't have to do that. And actually, applied improv has gotten me back into the research mindset of like, oh, let's see what's out there. What are all these researchers and universities studying now? And how are they studying applied improv? And what methods are they using to do this research and show evidence based results that it can work and it can help? And so it's been fun to really find these research studies and see that there are professors and researchers out there that enjoy this work and use it and study about it. So anyway, we have a good time. And, I think we're recording this about 3 or 4 weeks after the conference. So we have had some space to get back into the hustle and bustle of our regular lives. And when we got off, I told Jesse that, I've been in this space of overwhelm and feeling really rushed, and there's so much to do. Probably when this episode comes out, I will either have little baby girl with me or she will be soon coming. I am expecting my first child. She's due July 30th. So, I've been feeling a lot of the low energy. I've been feeling a lot of the fatigue. I've been feeling a lot of the anxiety of being a first time mom and being really scared and wanting to control things. And I mean, I'll do plenty of other episodes about parenting and uncertainty, but just to come back and connect with Jesse and debrief and talk about this lovely, glorious week that we had in Hilton Head, South Carolina. I'm so appreciative of it. And I also like that we have these audio blog versions of our sessions now where we recount what happened and what went well and what we could work on. And it's kind of nice to have that year to year and do that with someone. Certainly, as a speaker, probably not going to debrief after every workshop, but it's cool to do it with my co-presenter because we have different perspectives and then we also saw things differently. It's kind of fun to come together and chat about it after. So I like our little debrief tradition and I hope you enjoyed it too. I didn't get to ask Jesse about their other favorite conference sessions or moments. We were one of, I think, 25 to 30 other sessions and speakers at the conference. So there were so many options and topics for people to explore. And I want to give a shout out to some of my favorite conference sessions that I got to attend after our session was over. I attended a presence breakout session. I don't remember the full title, but it was all about just being present in the moment. And that was led by Dr. Joel Bennett. He also did his own intensive training session too about presence and resiliency. And I wasn't leading our intensive. I really wished I could have been in his session because it seemed, at least from the breakout, that it was really good. And it was a good reminder. Something that came up for me at that session was that I'm always looking ahead. I mean, constantly in my life, I'm always like, when this test is over, when this semester is over at school, when this month is over, when this week is over, I just need to get through this and then life will be better and life will be easier. And at this point, there's always something going on and there's always something that's going to keep you busy and going to challenge you. And I'm always looking for that thing to end to give space for everything else. And it's like, why don't I just give space for myself right now? And one thing that came up during Joel's session was that even at the conference, I was looking ahead. I was going, okay, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are going to be really busy. So once I get through Wednesday evening, it's smooth sailing after that. Like, I don't have to speak, I don't have to do anything. Then I can relax and enjoy myself. And it's like, all right, just enjoy every moment, even the busy days. And I will say, like, I certainly was present. I was excited about each day, but there was still a piece of me that was like, okay, get to Wednesday, get to the end of Wednesday, and then it'll be so good. You'll feel so much better. And I want to really challenge that mindset more for myself. This is just a part of my growth to just be like, yeah, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are busy. Let's enjoy them, see what comes up. And then, we'll rest on Thursday and Friday and it'll be fine. But every day is good no matter what is going on. So, just a little bit of personal development there that I took away from someone else's session. Also, I went to another session called Empowered Refusal, and it was all about how saying no actually allows us to say yes to things that we want to say yes to and that we want to do. And this session was led by Dr. Vanessa Patrick, and she has a book called The Power of Saying No: The New Science of How to Say No That Puts You in Charge of Your Life. And I went to her session. She actually had one of her breakout sessions going on while we were doing our breakout session. And I kind of made the little nod to her session because we were talking a lot about yes, let's and yes, and. And I said, no is still a complete sentence. No is still really important for boundaries. In fact, there is a whole breakout session across the hall that is focusing on saying no more. So that way you can say yes and to things that light you up. And I said, in my journey, what I'm learning is that if it's not a yes and, then it's a no for me right now. If I'm not feeling really excited about it and lit up, then I've got to say no at this point. Because when I do say yes and, I can feel it. Kind of like working with Jesse, I can feel it when like the energy's there and I can get so much done and there's so much excitement. But when I force and I push, then it feels harder and it's slower and it doesn't feel as good. So I really enjoyed Dr. Vanessa Patrick's session about saying no and how important it is to our lives. And I actually bought her book too. I plan to read it maybe while I'm on maternity leave or so when I'm not reading baby books. But just, yeah, learning to say no to things that I just don't want to do that kind of flare up the boundaries, be really strong in that so I can say yes and to other much cooler things. There was also a plenary session on Thursday led by Jessica Halem, and her session was called Pride, Prejudice, and Medical Progress: The Journey to LGBTQ plus Health Equity. And oh my gosh, Jessica was the best keynote speaker. We had some fantastic keynotes, so I'm not discounting anyone else, but just her presence on stage was so fantastic. And I actually met Jessica on LinkedIn. She commented on one of our sessions and she said, "I'm an improviser too. We have to chat at the conference." And I could just see her improv skills at work, really kind of lending to her stage presence. She was definitely not improvising her presentation. She was very well prepared, but her stage presence was amazing, and just how she utilized her space. She made it very engaging. She was very vulnerable. She was very passionate about the material. She had some jokes in there. I mean, she was just such a good speaker. I hope to get her on the podcast too because she was just so great. So, so good. And, just hope to get on that level of keynoting and speaking eventually. And it's cool to know that she had a background in improv. And then last but not least that I want to mention too, from the conference, there was an activity session on Thursday called Ecstatic Dance. And that is actually a kind of dance class and movement class you can take where the instructor plays an hour playlist of music and there's no choreography, there are no assigned steps. You just dance and flow and feel the music, and you move your body to however you want to move when that kind of music is playing. And that was so fun. That was led by Dr. Robert Swope, and I hope to have him on the podcast too because it was very improvised movement and really feeling your body and such. That was incredible. So lots of key highlights of this conference. I really love how open to exploring this conference was. As Jesse mentioned, there were activity sessions about journaling and certainly, meditation and dance. It was just really explorative. It seemed more explorative too than previous years, and, I'm here for it. Like, let's explore, let's make cool discoveries, let's connect with each other in this exploration phase and see what comes up and see what we learn. I really give a lot of credit to the conference for curating such a well-rounded collection of topics and ideas for attendees to learn from. It was great. I forgot to ask Jesse too about their overall lessons learned and biggest takeaways from the conference, but I was thinking through just in doing this episode and such, and I'd like to share my biggest takeaways and lessons learned with you. And one is to think about what can go right versus what can go wrong. We said this in the beginning, just how we were kind of nervous about the 16-hour intensive session. Do we have enough material to fill it? Will people be open to trying new things? Will they be willing to participate, or are they going to have their arms crossed the whole time? I'll tell you, the intensive session went better than anything I could have ever imagined. It went so well. It was so much fun, and the group that we had was so special and will always have a special place in my heart because we connected so much in those 2 days at a professional conference too. I go to a lot of improv camps, and certainly like, there's a lot of connection and excitement, and those people stay my good friends after a weekend because, it's improv camp, but I don't think a lot of people get that from a professional type of conference. And so to have that on this really special level and space, I think is huge. And, my mind always goes to, okay, well, what's going to go wrong and how can I control it and how can I prevent it? And well, certainly that's prepping ahead and, preparing. I don't have to get caught up in like what's going to go wrong and, what are people going to think? Like, let's reframe that. What's going to go right? And, how is this going to be the best thing ever? I think that lends to also being more present in the moment. I mentioned that that was a big takeaway from Dr. Bennett's session too, and I could use so much more presence, especially now with little baby girl coming. I hear all the time that, the years go by so fast and, you blink and then they're older and then they're out of the house. And so just appreciate every moment. And it's, yeah, but how? And I felt that in the session that focused on presence, that I could use that more. So practicing more presence and mindfulness and improv while on stage can also help in my life too, with all these big changes coming up. Also, with talking with Jesse today, and then also, of course, doing the conference sessions, I want to do more longer trainings. And I know Jesse does as well. The 1 hour sessions are fine. They're a teaser. They're good for like lunch and learns or for employees. They don't have a ton of time. They got to get back to work. But I believe that the real work comes from the workshops. 2 hour workshops, 4 hour workshops, 16-hour workshops, 2 day long workshops. That's when you really can start to see impacts and outcomes. And I want to do more of those. Jesse was talking about how them and their business partner have been talking about, like what groups they want to work with and really writing down and being really strategic in what they want to do. And I want to make that a part of my strategy as well. I am open and willing and wanting to do more longer trainings for groups and organizations because I think they're so important. And I think they'll be so meaningful for the groups and organizations that want to do that. Another takeaway I had at the conference was just to talk to people now instead of later. It's funny, with Jessica Halem, who I knew was an improviser. I also knew that she had this big plenary session and, she was probably busy on Thursday, but I would see her at breakfast and I go, "Oh, I want to talk with you. Like, let's chat, let's chat." And then all of a sudden, snap, like the conference goes by and I didn't get to really chat with her. And I was like, why did I do that? Just talk to people now. Or just be like, hey, is now a good time? Or can I get in with you, after this session and just hear more about your improv journey or something? Like, I feel like I was doing that with a lot of people, like, oh, let's chat later, let's talk. It's a 3 day long conference. There isn't that much time. And I think that goes back to the presence piece and not putting things off to later and actually doing them now. And I know I can improve upon that. Overall, I just want to say that this third year at the conference felt like a charm. Third year's a charm. It went the best of the 3 conferences. Each year, we've grown in how we've presented at this conference. My first year, I led an activity session, 2 activity sessions called Guided Improvisation for Connection and Creativity. And I got about 10 people at each of the sessions. I felt so good about it. It was so much fun. And then last year, we presented a breakout session and an activity session. And so we reached more people. And then this year, we did an intensive, a breakout, and an activity session. And the reach we had this year well surpassed the reach we've had in the past 2 years combined. Like, we really got to reach a lot more people this time with our message and our topic, and I think people got a lot out of it too. On Thursday, I was at the keynote and they had some extra time, and so the conference chair did a little icebreaker where she said, find someone you don't know and share a big takeaway that you had from yesterday's sessions. And I was sitting there, everyone paired up. I had gone outside and I came back. So I was like, well, I'll just sit here. And someone came up to me and said, hey, I attended your session yesterday. And I wanted to tell you that that was my big takeaway. Yes, and having a growth mindset, that meant a lot to me. I don't hear that a lot in my job, in my role, in my world. And I'm going to take that back with me. So thank you for giving me my takeaway yesterday. And I said, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much. That's incredible that you had that." And I love that that was your big takeaway from yesterday. So that was so cool that one, that person was willing to share and that it happened. So again, the reach was just incredible. Just look out world. Like we're focusing on health promotion conferences right now, but honestly, these skills can apply to all industries and sectors. Just take out health promotion leaders and insert any other kind of business or job role, and these skills can help. And I know that this is not the end for Jesse and I in our collaboration phase. There is a lot of uncertainty ahead. I told Jesse that with baby girl coming, I am not sure what next year will look like in presenting and going to this conference, which will be in Arizona next year. But I said, let's both apply, let's submit proposals together. And then, in the event that I can't go for whatever reason, you can do it. You can definitely do it on your own. It is more fun to do together, but also, I don't have to make that decision now. I can totally just say, "Hey, we don't know what next year brings, but let's just submit now and see what comes up." And I think that is totally fine. I definitely hope that I can attend this conference again, whether it's next year and in the future, because I think it's such a good conference. I will add to the show notes the link to the conference if you are interested in attending as a health promotion leader. Please check it out. It is such a good conference. So, so good. And I promise they did not tell me to say that. We just have such a good time, and I really want to give them the praise that they deserve. The conference has been around for 34 years, so they're doing something right, and they're really putting on a good conference. I'll wrap up here by saying that you heard Jesse talk about how this business is a dream. Literally, the name of the business came to their business partner in a dream, but also just working on this topic and this field and getting to make these kind of impressions on attendees is such a dream come true for Jesse. And I want to ask you, what would be a dream come true for you in your professional life, in your personal life? What is something you've been dreaming about that you're like, "Oh, that can't happen. I'm supposed to do this as an adult. I'm supposed to be this. I'm supposed to be stable, blah, blah, blah." Like, you've set these limitations, but what would be a dream come true for you? And how can you make it happen? I totally agree with Jesse that this work that we're doing is a dream come true, and there's always been a part of me that wanted to own my own business, and then there was the other part that went, "I don't know anything about owning my own business, and what would I do? What would it be about? I have no idea. I didn't go to school for owning my own business. How would I run it?" All this stuff. But having these improv skills and really, like, mindset shifts has helped me say, "You know what? I don't have all the answers, but I want to lean into this." And by doing that, it has been a dream come true to be able to lead these workshops and speak on stage and just have all of this silliness and fun. And like that comment said, really find our fate in the best way possible. We're doing what we love and it shows, and other people are recognizing it. What would be a dream come true for you and really light you up? Certainly, please reach out to Jesse to collaborate and talk about any opportunities. Also, you can reach out to me if anything resonated with you in this episode. You just want to chat more about applied improv. You're like, "How does this work? I don't get it." Whatever came up for you, I'm always open to hearing it, and I love hearing from you. You can reach out to me on social media. On Instagram, I'm at Improvly Speaking. On LinkedIn, I'm at Dana Gowan. And my website is improvryspeaking.com for everything else going on there too. Thank you so much for listening today, supporting this journey. being excited about your own growth and development and pushing past all those walls of fear to find that dream come true job and state for you. I wish you the best. I hope you find it. I want you to find it. And when you do, reach out to me because I will be cheering for you. Thanks so much for listening and supporting Improvly Speaking. Go out and flex your creative thinking. I'll talk to you next time.